Dating is hard. You already know this. The apps, the endless swiping, the conversations that go nowhere, the strange modern feeling that finding one person to love should not be this exhausting. So here is a thought that might make you feel better, or possibly much worse. Go back 50,000 years, and this problem did not exist. Not because ancient humans had it easy. They had it far harder than you can imagine. But because the entire question of finding a partner worked in a completely different way, one that would be almost unrecognizable to you. Ancient humans did not date. They did not choose freely. And in most cases, they did not find a partner at all. Someone found one for them. This is the story of how humans paired up before dating existed. And the truth is stranger, older, and more organized than almost anyone expects. Because hidden inside it is a system so sophisticated that it may have helped decide which human species survived and which one disappeared. Start with the problem, because the problem was brutal. For most of human history, you did not live in a city of millions. You lived in a small band, usually somewhere around 25 to 50 people. That was your entire world. Those were the faces you saw every day of your life, from birth until death. No neighborhoods, no crowds, no strangers walking past. Now, do the math on that. Out of those 30 or 40 people, roughly half are the wrong sex. Of the ones left, most are far too old or far too young. And of the small handful that remain, here is the crushing part. Almost all of them are your relatives, your cousins, your siblings, your aunts and uncles. In a band that small, everyone is family, because everyone descends from the same few people. So, your realistic pool of potential partners inside your own group was often close to zero. And this is not a small problem. This is a species-ending problem. When close relatives have children together, harmful genes stack up. Fertility drops. Children are born weaker and sicker. A population that keeps marrying inside itself slowly poisons its own future. Any group of humans that could not solve this would quietly disappear within a few generations. So, how did we not disappear? How did tiny bands of 30 people, scattered across enormous empty continents, avoid collapsing into inbreeding? The answer came from a grave in Russia. At a site called Sungir, near Moscow, archaeologists uncovered burials that are around 34,000 years old. The bodies were laid out with astonishing care, covered in thousands of hand-carved ivory beads, each one taking hours to make. Scientists assumed, reasonably, that people buried together like that would be close family. A father and his sons, perhaps. Then a team from the University of Cambridge and the University of Copenhagen sequenced their DNA, and the results stopped them cold. The individuals buried together were not closely related at all, and more importantly, none of them showed signs of inbreeding. In a world of tiny scattered bands, these people had somehow been finding partners from outside their own group, deliberately and consistently. As Professor Martin Sikora of Copenhagen explained, if small hunter-gatherer bands had been mixing at random, we would see clear evidence of inbreeding in those bones. We don't, which means they were not mixing at random. They had a system, and that system was one of the most important social technologies our species ever developed. Ancient bands were not sealed off from each other. Each small group was one node in a much larger web, connected to other bands across huge distances by trade, by shared rituals, by seasonal gatherings, and above all, by the exchange of people. When groups came together, arrangements were made. Young adults moved from one band to another, carrying their family's alliance with them. Marriage was not just a bond between two people. It was a treaty between two groups. The jewelry and ceremony found in those graves suggests something remarkable. That ancient humans had developed rules and rituals around this exchange of partners, ceremonies that may have been the distant ancestors of the wedding you would recognize today. Which brings us to the part that will feel strangest to a modern person. This decision was almost never yours. In 2011, a team of researchers led by Robert Walker published a study in the journal PLOS One, using the family trees of hunter-gatherer societies to trace marriage customs backward through time. What they found is that arranged marriage goes back at least as far as the first modern humans migrating out of Africa. It is not a recent invention of kings and empires. It appears to be one of the oldest human institutions we have. Elders arranged it. Parents negotiated it. The group decided who joined with whom, because too much was at stake for it to be left to two young people and their feelings. And you could not simply be given a partner for free. Across hunter-gatherer societies worldwide, the same custom appears again and again. Bride service. A young man had to come and live with the woman's family and work for them, hunting for them, providing for them, sometimes for years, before the union was accepted. In other cultures, the exchange took the form of bride price, gifts and valuables flowing between the families. Think about what that actually means. There was no such thing as simply meeting someone and dating them. To be with the person you wanted, you might have to spend 3 years hunting food for her parents, proving every single day that you were worth it, while both families watched and judged. Suddenly, sending a message on an app does not seem quite so exhausting. But now comes the obvious question. If it was all arranged, negotiated, and worked for, was there any love in it at all? Were ancient humans simply matched like cattle, feeling nothing? No. And the evidence for that goes back millions of years, long before we were human. Anthropologist Owen Lovejoy has argued that pair bonding, the deep attachment between two partners, is one of the oldest features of our lineage. His evidence comes from a 4-million-year-old ancestor called Ardipithecus ramidus. In most primates, males have large, fierce canine teeth because they use them fighting other males over females. But in Ardipithecus, the difference between male and female canine teeth had shrunk dramatically. The weapons were getting smaller. Lovejoy's interpretation is that our ancestors shifted strategy. Instead of fighting each other, males began bringing food back to females, and females began preferring reliable providers over aggressive fighters. Cooperation beat combat. And out of that shift came something new in the world, a lasting bond between two individuals who chose to stay together, feed each other, and raise children as a team. That instinct is millions of years old. It is far older than marriage, older than language, older than our species. So, yes, ancient humans loved their partners. They grieved for them. They stayed with them. Affection was real. What was different was that love was not how you found someone. Love was what grew afterward, inside a bond your family and your group had helped build. And here is where this story connects to something enormous. Remember the Neanderthals. When scientists sequenced Neanderthal DNA, they found the opposite of what they found at Sungheir. Neanderthal genomes carry the clear signature of inbreeding. Their populations were small, scattered, and isolated, and they were often forced to pair with close relatives. Their world was closed. Ours was open. Homo sapiens built wide networks that stretched across hundreds of kilometers, and one of the most important things traveling along those networks was people. Partners moved between groups, keeping our gene pool healthy, our alliances strong, and our knowledge flowing. Some researchers now suspect that this difference, the sophisticated exchange of mates across a vast social web, may be part of the reason anatomically modern humans succeeded while other human species did not. The way our ancestors found partners might genuinely be one of the reasons you exist. So think about what that means for the thing you call dating. For hundreds of thousands of years, no human being had to solve this problem alone. Your parents solved it. Your elders solved it. Your whole band solved it, with rituals and negotiations and alliances stretching across the landscape. The search was carried by everyone around you, because everyone had a stake in it. You are part of the first generation in the entire history of our species that is expected to do it completely alone. No band, no elders, no ceremony, no network. Just you, a screen, and millions of strangers trying to find one person out of a species of 8 billion. That is not a personal failure. That is a brand new problem. Your brain evolved for a world of 40 faces, where the group carried the weight of this decision with you. It was never designed for infinite choice and total solitude at the same time. The ancient way was not romantic by our standards. It was arranged, negotiated, and often decided without you. But it came with something we have quietly lost, which is that nobody went looking by themselves. Ancient humans did not have girlfriends and boyfriends. They had families that reached across valleys to find them a partner, ceremonies that made it real, and years of proving themselves before it was allowed. It was harder in every way except one. They never had to do it alone.